Have you ever played a game that makes you want to break your Switch? Maybe you've thrown a Joy-Con or two in your time. Maybe you simply, or let's say casually, scream at the screen. I'm definitely guilty of that last one. Well, today these are my top 10 experiences that cost me for sure a little bit of sanity, but also nearly a Switch in the process. Number one especially, that one I don't think too many will know it, but those that do, look, there's no question that game has cost a Switch or two since release, and you deserve a medal or something if you did get through it. So with that, like, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's go on a journey of frustration, pain, but also huge reward. So to give you an idea of just how difficult today's games are, let me break down a few you might expect to see that actually don't feature, rather they get this honourable mention. So Dark Souls, sure, like, it's hard, but it's probably the easiest entry in the series. Celeste, a stunning story and some moments towards the end absolutely challenging, but I also think it has quite a nice ramping difficulty. Mario Maker 2, and you might laugh at that one, but seriously, look, super expert online, brutal, but that is user created, not the game itself. Finally, the mighty Hades, also tough, but I think it's one of the more accessible in its approach for its genre. So kicking this off, we've got Hollow Knight, just about makes the cut for today's list. This Metroidvania, no question a masterpiece, but the core game itself, not actually that difficult, honestly. Now sure, the boss moments, they can get damn challenging at points, but I think the game does a good job of balancing out difficulty with the player's growing skill level. Where this one gains entry to this list today, though, it's the end game content. Think the likes of the Hall of Gods, the boss rush style, almost like play mode. That thing is absolutely brutal, and I spent hours upon end grinding, just trying to get that little bit further. That mode, honestly, if you face it, you're going to be in for a hell of a path ahead of you, that is a guarantee. My favourite game on today's list then, that is Cuphead, a stunning 2D boss rush experience. It has an overworld 3D map to explore, even the odd bit of like almost platforming as well to break things up, but that is also rare. What makes Cuphead stand out, it's got to be the stunning 1930s like visuals and animation, and then the incredible jazz soundtrack. What will keep you coming back though, the brutal challenge of these boss moments, and just how fun they are, honestly. Either single player or co-op, you are gonna have a blast with this one. With a ton of secrets to uncover, it is a modern masterpiece with DLC now in development, but also I will say long overdue. It also then has one of the creepiest trailers I've ever seen, which you're enjoying right now. Super Meat Boy is another piece of genius, and while the sequel didn't quite live up to what the first game did, going for an auto-run theme, we always have this original as it throws you into its weird world for some extremely challenging twitch platforming and near constant deaths. Basically though, save the day, get Bandage Girl back, and expect to be retrying this thing over and over again. I thought this one would be higher on the list, honestly, but something about its pace didn't quite raise the heart rate like the rest of the games I'm going to be featuring. I never felt like I wanted to break something, you know. I did get very close, I'd be lying if I didn't say that much, but yeah, there was definitely something that just kept me coming back, and also at the same time kind of kept me calm. Now this one is very similar to Super Meat Boy but harder. VVVVV is similar in its level design and challenge. Think a ton of obstacles that can kill you instantly. You're on a mission to save someone as well, or in this case a crew. Where this one dials up the difficulty though, it's not platforming but rather controlling gravity. A quick tap of the controls reverses the gravitational pull and you'll be floating from floor to ceiling and vice versa. For me, this mechanic just took a whole lot more brain power if anything else. Then with the levels constantly increasing in difficulty, the pressure was just more apparent, and there were a few moments in here where I very nearly walked away. Darkest Dungeon is a game I picked up at release, and it's one I play still to this very day. It's an addictive combination of dungeon crawling, turn-based combat, a whole lot of RPG, roguelike elements, so think the likes of permadeath. It's also procedurally generated though, meaning that replay value here, it is extremely high. Here though, you'll be training and leading a team of heroes through all manner of locations, taking down monsters along the way. But where this one, it's separating itself from the pack, it's what it calls the affliction system. Think Your warriors, they're battling things like paranoia, fear, psychological stress, and just all sorts of issues. With multiple classes, an addictive battle system, and characters to recruit, I've loved this one since the beginning, and it's been more than worth the price and pain. So the game that actually spurred this video today, that is Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. This one didn't just bring the characters and world we love, but also the now iconic difficulty along for the ride as well. Arthur here is back out to save his princess, and this entry, it has all the trademarks of the name. Not the most, flexible of movement, tons of enemies that just keep on respawning, a whole host of weapons, and then brutal boss moments. I walked away honestly more than a few times here during that first playthrough. It is definitely brutal. The one bonus with this one for many though will be they recognise the difficulty, and they actually added accessibility options in the form of 4 different difficulty modes, one of which makes you near invincible. Play it on Night or above though if you want kind of that unforgiving challenge that you will remember from the original, and I highly recommend it for retro fans. So Enter the Gungeon may be one of the most famous games on today's list. Where Enter succeeded was it provided this brutal level of difficulty, but its combination of colourful visuals, its weird sense of humour, that roguelike formula, it attracted a huge audience that I don't think would have normally maybe went in given its challenge, but that's really good to see. It deserves this huge amount of respect thrown its way. A bullet hell dungeon crawler that's great single player or multiplayer. You're basically battling your way through to the bottom of the gungeon. You'll need to basically just survive a ton of enemies, figure out the dodge roll mechanic, and work your way through bullet hell moments, while also experimenting with some of the best weapons I've seen in a game in a long time, and it all works together near perfectly. With a fair few heroes then to experiment with, there's just a whole lot of content here to keep you coming back, and this one comes highly recommended from me. Furi then is a personal favourite on the Switch. I think a boss rush experience that's set in a 3D world, and the main mechanics here, hack and slash attacks, twin stick shooting, but where it mixes the formula up, it's actually that most opponents have bullet hell attack patterns, and they are just unforgiving. They're more than willing to basically beat you down into a bloody pulp. I thought this was near perfect. Incredible controls, stunning visuals, an incredible synthwave soundtrack, and then just an ultra challenging experience, but it's also absolutely fair. Your success here simply relies on your understanding of your opponents, but also mastering your skill set. Still though, look, it's not easy, that is for sure. That's why it places so high on today's list. So Ikaruga released originally on the Dreamcast in Japan, a console that was underappreciated, one of my personal favourites of all time, I'm going to say that first. Gave me gems like Power Stone, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Shenmue. We didn't see Ikaruga in the West until it released for the GameCube. I'm happy it took so long to get to us, honestly, because if you had given me this thing on the Dreamcast at my age back then, that disc wouldn't have lasted maybe a day without being snapped in half. Here though, you can transition between 2 energy polarities, black or white, meaning you can actually connect with bullets of the same colour, and it's a shmup, so the game goal is relatively simple, get to the end. That though is easier said than done. It's not got any easier over the years, honestly. I still hold my breath nearly the entire way through. I still panic nearly every second, and I still find myself facing death more than I would like to admit. An incredible port though of an absolute masterpiece of a game. Alright, so the number 1 spot, this was an easy decision. It both haunts me still and gives me anxiety at the same time. It's called Jump King. It's brutal, it's so difficult I walked away. I reviewed it sort of on the channel, but I didn't attach a score because I didn't beat the game. My frustration was at breaking point and my Switch was at risk. One day I failed to beat this game, but not on a console that can be thrown through the air. That is my first rule if I ever do go back. The idea here though is simple, it teases you in. Just jump and platform to the top of a tower and save the smoking hot princess, but fall, and 9 times out of 10 you're tumbling back to the very bottom. That is unless you get lucky and hit a platform along the way. After maybe I'd say 200 to 300 attempts, I just retired. If you beat this, I salute you, because yeah, you must have like peak patience skills, because for me on today's list, this is the only one I'm still yet to beat. It even has 2 additional modes, New Babe Plus and Ghost of the Babe, but yeah, look, 1 mode was more than enough for me. So you tell me, what are the most difficult games you've ever played on the Switch, or not, to be honest. I'm curious just to see what pushed you to that breaking point. Then a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.